Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Strong Readers Call. Glad to see you on our call today. I know it was a little different with us not being able to, us not sending out the newsletters. So I'm glad you all were able to make our call today. Today I have my co-host Carla Jordan is from our Literacy Heroes team. She will be helping us out today. Carla, give a wave. And Carla, if you could just watch the waiting room and let people in as they enter into the waiting room.
Okay.
Great too. Okay. So for starting out today, since it's a Christmas themed day, just wanted to start off saying, if you want to if you put your name and what school you're at in the comments, and then maybe list a favorite toy that you got for Christmas in childhood. So I will just start with mine. My favorite childhood toy that I got for Christmas would be my Cabbage Patch doll. You know how they had their names, they were already named for you, didn't get to pick their name, they were named. And I do remember that mine was named Arena Priscilla. And so that would be my childhood toy. If anybody wants to put theirs in the links as we're just waiting for everyone to join. And we can look at another person saying Cabbage Patch, same, very popular. We've got a Snoopy doll, more Cabbage Patch, all the Barbie things, bicycles, Barbie, and then the Rockers van. I'm not familiar with Rockers van. Someone else had a Cabbage Patch doll, and theirs was named Dennis, and it had red hair and freckles. Cute. Gail from Pawnee Elementary had a stuffed golden poodle dog. More Cabbage Patch, more votes for Cabbage Patch. Super Nintendo. Baby Alive. Barbie Dream House. Lots of Barbies. Barbie Corvette, fun. So that's fun to read. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will get started with the agenda for today and jump right into it. Okay. So I want to start out today with just talking about the allocations very quickly. Allocations went out last month. It's been maybe a little over a month by now of when they went out. And you may have noticed that our per pupil allotment was $239.47, which is the highest allocation we've had in the history of Strong Readers or RSA. Last year we had got close to that amount, but that was a huge jump from previous years. So it had always been under $150 per student until last year. And last year we were at, I think it was 219 and or maybe 218, somewhere right in there. And we went up even a little more from then. So if you haven't looked yet at how much you got for your, or don't know how you got for your district yet, the specific allocation amounts can be found in single sign-on in your state aid management system. And so if whoever it is that manages that for your district could have a look at that for you and let you know. And I just want to take this minute to give a little reminder about using the approved codes. So we have a funding checklist that has all of the eligible expenses and the OCAS codes that should accompany in them. So I'm going to open that up and just look at that for just a second here. This is what they look like. And if you will notice, uh-oh, I can't see it now. Sorry. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, but I just quit seeing my screen. Hold on just a second. Hmm. All right, okay, here we go. Strong Readers Funding Checklist. So here it is. And one of the things I've already started looking at the expenditures in the last month that came in from us. And here's one of the things that I'm noticing. So Strong Readers project code is 367, and that's what you have to denote if you're using any Strong Readers money. But when we get into the program codes, that's where we're seeing the problem. The program code 427 is for your general Strong Readers expenses. So that's what you're going to use on most of your Strong Readers money. But we do have two other program codes. If it's anything to do with summer school, then you use 441. This code right here, 439, was new this last school year, and it is for expenditures for Strong Readers when you're using your money for that 10% requirement. So if you're a school that receives over $2,500, you're required to spend 10% of that on science of reading training and expenses for your district. And this program code needs to be used so that we can check that to see if you're spending your 10% requirement. So what I've been noticing is some of the schools that have talked to me about some professional development that was going to contribute to their 10% requirement. So I know they were looking into it. I know I heard from some of them, we're sending this teacher to this. Can we count their hotel? Can we count these things? I know they were looking at those things, but when we got their expenses, they had zero expenses with program code 439. So if we dig into it and we look under this, they may have paid for a training, they may have paid for a hotel, they may have paid for a sub that was going to cover for those days. But if they don't use this program code 439, then when we run that report that shows us it's going to look like you didn't spend your 10% money. Obviously, you can't go back and change it for last year. And we will be looking at those more, and we may be getting with some of you if it's showing that you didn't spend any of your 10% requirement. So we may be having some questions about that if this code wasn't used. But just for this current school year, make sure that if you are spending money on science of reading training from our list, or those travel expenses or sub expenses that go along with that, make sure that you're telling whoever codes your expenses to use program code 439, so that when we run our report that shows to see if you've met your 10% requirement, we will be able to see that easily and not have to call and check, and we want it to accurately reflect that you are spending that requirement money. So just wanted to touch on that quickly. Now let's move on. Carla, if you're seeing any, have you seen any questions come up so far about funding before I move on from the funding section?
No, I haven't.
Okay, perfect. So as we're going along, if you do have any questions, you can just go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll try to address them as we go along through each section. The next thing is Amira. So Amira is running a referral incentive right now, and we are wanting to get more districts on board with our state contract with Amira. So Amira is running this incentive, and how it works is if you're already enrolled on Amira and you refer another Oklahoma school district to sign up for Amira Access and Tutor, and after they successfully enroll, you will receive a free Amira product. So here's the things that you would be able to pick from as your reward: the Tutor for 6th through 8th or Instruct for K through 5. You could also pick a professional development experience from them. And so if you want to look at this information, here's how you do this. You share your experience with the districts that you're referring. You tell them about how it's going with Amira, your experience with it. And then there is a Google form that you can complete with this QR code that's going to be listed below. And then if the district that you refer signs up for licenses and schedule a meeting with Heather, then you can be eligible to get one of these prizes for referring a district. Right here is the link. I have this right here that you can use to get to the referral if you want to refer a district. So I'm going to now move on to, we're gonna have a little question answer session with one of our districts who is using Amira and have had good experience with it. I have with me from Owasso Public Schools, Leslie Wright and Angela Parks, and they're going to answer a few questions for me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see them better. Okay, so good morning, Leslie. Leslie, give everybody a wave for hello. And also we have with us Angela. So Angela is going to do a little Q&A with me. Angela, I just want you to start out just kind of giving everybody kind of your experience with getting Amira started within your district.
Okay, we're gonna say this now and at the end. If from anything in this interview, any of you sign up, please use us as the referral so we can get some more free PD. So there's our plug. So help us
Good.
out with helping you out. First, we were an iStation district for quite a few years. So that transition from going from iStation to Amira, and we took it slow. We last year continued with iStation and did a slow rollout with Amira to walk into it slowly, not just switch real quick, if that helps. So we benefited greatly with the fact that we are very blessed to be able to have reading specialists in all 9 of our elementary school sites. So those reading specialists then met with Jenny Paris from Amira quite a few times, really got trained up to be the Amira champions for their building and our district. And so they led on-site trainings and then some district trainings as well with all of their grade level teams. And then we started this program with Amira as a slower rollout. Like in the fall, we started with the reading specialists started using Amira with the students that they saw in the reading lab who were on a slip. And then in December, so last year at this time, that 3 weeks between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we had second grade across the district start Amira doing practice, learning the program, working out kinks, all the technology little bugs, all of those kind of things. No screening, just working in Amira, getting those kids used to that. So then in January, we gave iStation to everyone for our middle of the year, and then second grade took the Amira screener across the district. So at that time, we went into our second grade teachers, got feedback from them, what went well, what were struggles, what did they foresee if they were maybe teaching older students or younger students, of how we ended up using Amira. So then they just continued using Amira, and then we rolled out with third and fourth grade practicing with Amira in February. And then right before spring break, they took Amira, the screener, so that, and then got feedback. So then at that point, we had second, third, and fourth grade using Amira across the district. When we came back from spring break, we started first grade practicing, and then kindergarten practicing in April. And then in May, everyone K through 4 took Amira after we finished iStation. We did not do fifth grade because of them going to sixth grade the next year. Just giving the practice at that time was not in a benefit to them or their teachers at that time. And then we did a lot of feedback from the teachers and all of those grade level chairs across the district with our reading specialist. And then at the end of the year, we had a full day with the reading specialist and Jenny again, and took that feedback and then all the things that were new and transitioned over from iStation to Amira through all of last year. So that was our get it started, but we did do it as a slow rollout and steps at a time.
Okay. All right. So as you're a little bit further into it now, what struggles did you face, maybe starting out, even at the end of that and going into this year too? What are some struggles that you faced and how did you address those?
Some of the first thing, realizing across the board, anytime you introduce something new or you're going to have a change and it's going to be that wide a scale change across the district, in our seat, we had to realize, anytime you have that, you're going to have reluctancy, and just how are you going to meet that? So some of it had nothing to do with Amira. or iStation or that we're giving a screener. Some of it's just knowing human nature of adversity to change and how can we back up the support regardless of the program. So that being in the, back of our mind. But the primary challenges with Amira were probably the headphones with microphones, having enough for classrooms, even though we're saying you don't have to have them, just that transition of need and kind of proving you do or don't need them, or with certain students, or if you're doing whole group, just that shift in just procedures even. But we did apply for and got approved with SRA funds, filled out the form for approval for that, for headphones with microphones. And that's been very helpful as far as even just launching some of those hesitations. Other things were usually minor tech issues with our Chromebooks and having to learn different things. Even I think it's made some of our younger students even more tech savvy about cleaning out cookies and cache more frequently, and how they can do that, and other tips that Amira has learned. We at times we were the guinea pigs and did a lot of back and forth communication with their technology as well. So usually tech things were the biggest struggles.
Okay. I want to take just a second. If you'll notice that she mentioned that they applied for using some of approval to use some of their Strong Readers funds for technology. So if you are spending your Strong Readers funds on technology equipment, you do have to get that approved through us, through our office. It's on the Strong Readers for Schools website, and there's just a link. It sends you to a form you fill out of what you want to buy, what the expense is going to be, and what your intended use is for it. And I really try to stay on top of those. Usually if you fill one of those out, I'll get back with you usually within 2 days of if it's approved or not. It might take up to a week, but really usually I get them back within like 1 to 2 days. And then you just would have you could save my email that I send. I'll send you back an email with an approval, and you save that for your records. And then you just code it just like you would everything else, Strong Readers funds. And then there's a code for technology expenses. But you'll see on that funding checklist where you see the code for technology expenses, it does say that it requires prior approval. And that's just filling out that form from me and then getting an email back if you're approved. So
the form
okay,
is easy. The form is easy and concise and easy to fill out. I mean, hopefully you had a plan before you start filling it out, but it's not lengthy.
right. Yeah, it's not very detailed. We really just ask you like what it is you want to buy and the cost and the intended use for it. So it is pretty easy to fill out and usually pretty quick to get an answer back from me on. And then, so another thing is tell us something that you really appreciate about Amira, the screener, and the reporting that comes along with it.
Okay. We really appreciate the way that it's adaptive and it allows this to meet the students where they are, that instruction level, without relying on multiple choice format. The multi-guessing, the not being able to handle the technology needed as a kindergarten and iStation, whereas in Amira, it's more age appropriate as far as for some of the first times the students on a device. The other things would be how immediate the data is and how clear it is with teacher and parent reports. Our teachers really like that report for the parents during conference time. And our older students, the teachers have been able to do some of that, send that report home, to parents without a lot of explanation. Most of the explanation comes with the younger students' parents. So that's been helpful.
Okay. And can you talk a minute about the Amira tutor portion and something that you appreciate about that part of it?
With the tutor, we found it to be pretty efficient. The tutor part's efficient. What was not efficient was getting our teachers used to the timing of it. That it's not like iStation, it's not like other programs that you're on there for 20 to 30 minutes every day. The kind of the breaking the habit of here's what this takes time-wise with stories opposed to everybody needs the same amount of time. Depending on the student's ability level might be their timing. So that just is a little bit, the individual instruction across those tiers for support is one of those, to integrate that. And scheduling and maybe revamping some scheduling and monitoring, adjust those classroom schedules if we need to until we're a little more used to it and the students are a little more used to it. But the, you know, engagement and teacher planning was probably a little bit of getting it there, but then seeing the data results quick enough that they see them moving, they see the growth.
Okay. And what are some positive outcomes that you have experienced with the Mira? With your
I think
students?
one of our biggest things was that the screener and our screener for characteristics of dyslexia were all in one single streamlined process. We weren't taking two separate screeners, weren't having to communicate two different formats to parents. All of those things happened to go together. And then the results from those for the classroom teacher and the reading specialist to hone down on those characteristics and then seeing, did they have any of growth in those particular areas? Let's see. I was trying to think if there was something else on that. So, giving it 3 times the year instead of with iStation having to do with that monthly for some of the students that did not need that. Whereas now we have a better option for when to progress monitor depending on the student's level.
Okay. What advice would you have for any of our districts that are considering switching to Amira?
To maximize the value of their extensive professional development. They have so many options on their website that you can work in individually or a small group of teachers or maybe your whole school site. Just there's a lot out there on their website you can do on your own or your team without necessarily having one of their trainers come in. But their trainers are wonderful. All the trainers we've worked with have been very helpful and really listened to what we need. And anytime we've sent questions to Jenny or Heather, that we get responses, even if it's a matter of, we're working on this, we'll need to get back to you, which that's encouraging instead of it just hanging out there. And then they get back, or their tech gets back if it was more of a technology problem. But the PD, probably one of the biggest things.
Okay. We had a question in the chat from someone saying that their teachers are struggling switching over to looking at an ARMS score and understanding and having confidence in that score. Did you have any resources or something that you used to help your teachers transition to using that score?
I would have to kick that back to the great staff we have on site with our reading specialist. They really honed in on taking the Marion Champion course and keeping up to date and how those meetings, are they weekly now? I mean, I know they've changed their schedule of when they have some of those champions times, but they really stay on top of that and then carry that back to their MTSS or RTI at campus. And so our best resource on that really is our reading specialists back on site. I could probably get you a little bit more specific answer from one of those teachers, but that's how we've been able to handle that shift.
And I'm sure Amira probably has some resources too, that would help with that as well. And I'm seeing some questions in the chat about Amira training being included in the 10% professional development. So Amira training is all included. If you on the state license, we pay for professional development included in that license. And so all of the professional development that you should need through Amira should not cost your district any money. That should be included. Now they do some virtual options, and we have some ones that we have we host at different places around. So some of that is, but there is one that is the Amira certified educators. It is on our list of approved ones for the 10%, and it doesn't cost for you to have someone go through it, but you can give someone a stipend for going through that one, and that can contribute to your 10% requirement. But it has to be that particular one. It's not just the one for program use. It is one that has some actual content of science of reading and evidence-based practices in that, embedded into that training. And so that one is one that is on our approved list, and it's Amira certified educators. So you could pay someone a stipend for going through that one, and that would count. I think my last thing is for you, is just, do you have any other comments or anything you want to add about Amira?
I think one of our wanted for years was to have that practice time for our students before they took the screener. And so that's a big plus for Amira. At the beginning of the year, they have a couple of weeks before we give the beginning of the year screener that they're able to get in and use the program. And so just formatting and a student on the keyboard or using a mouse or whatever the device takes, if it's a touchscreen, whatever they need on that, or getting used to headphones and not biting the cord, you know, all those lovely things that the kids do with the technology, just having that time to even practice using that. But using the screener, getting used to Amira, they all love Spot. They think it's really amazing that Amira already knows their name the first time they get on there. The responses from the students, it's kind of cute, but that practice time, that's been the biggest thing. And then I think just some of the data results being so quick that the teachers get that response and know what to do next with those students, that sometimes it was weeks before they knew what to hone down that specifically. So,
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Angela. I'm glad your
Sure.
district is having a good experience with Amira, and I thank you for your willingness to come share it with us on our call today. So it's very
Okay,
nice to
but
have
I'm
you.
gonna put that plug back out there. If this is anybody's referral, you know,
That's right.
refer us on that.
Yes. You guys refer them so they can get some extra
free.
products for their
Yeah.
district. That's
Thank
right.
you.
Welcome. Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen so we can get back onto the agenda. Okay. So it's mid-year assessment time. Some of you have probably already started those, and if you haven't, you will be soon. You can do your mid-year screenings anytime that your district chooses in December or January. And you can consult the guidance for your screener if you have any questions about scores or procedures. You can go on our website, and I have it linked here on Strong Readers for Schools, and we have the guidance documents for each one of our approved screeners. Just a reminder, if you have a student who was above the 40th percentile at the beginning of the year, and now at mid-year they are scoring below the 40th percentile, you would need to add them to a slip. And I have the slip linked in the agenda as well. And then if a student did not score at 60th, but maybe they were at 50th or whatever, if a student was not at 60th at the beginning of the year, but now they do score at 60th or above, you would now need to send the notice of proficiency. And I also have that linked. It is not required for you to give the dyslexia screener at mid-year. However, you may choose to give it whenever you need. Now, some screeners, that's not an issue, like Amira, because it's all embedded into one screener. But if you're giving one where the dyslexia screening portion is a separate measure, you are not required to give that at this screening window. It's only required at beginning. But if you have a student who maybe was above before, but now they're below, and you can choose to go ahead and give them those additional measures now if you want to do that. We do have a professional development opportunity I would like to highlight. The Reading League Oklahoma is having a January meeting, and I have posted information about it here. Here's a link where you can go on and sign up for this if you want to. They're having a little kickoff, and they're having a keynote speaker, and she's going to be doing 3 truths and a lie, teaching to the reading brain. And if you're interested in this professional development, you can follow the links in the agenda. There's just a little bit more information about that. And now to end our program, we have one of our Literacy Heroes, Carla Jordan, and she's going to do just a little very short PD on multisyllabic words. So, Carla.
Let me share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Let me move this out of the way. Okay. All right, so as Deanne said earlier, I am Carla Jordan, and I'm part of the Heroes Literacy team. I'm from the southeast area of Oklahoma. I live down in McCurtain County. If you would like to know a little bit more about our program, you can scan this QR code, and it will take you to my email or my work phone number, so you can contact me to learn a little bit more about our program. And then I'll move on. So HEROES stands for Help Elevate Reading Outcomes for Every Student. So what our goal is to go into these schools and support schools and districts in creating sustainable systems built around data. We want to create systems that last for years to come. We help schools in matching evidence-based literacy instruction and resources to fit the needs of your students. And then we provide professional development such as this for educators and administrators across the state. So this is our disclaimer statement. In short, it just says that anything you see in this presentation is not a recommendation from us or an endorsement. It's up to the district to make those decisions, what's best for your students. So today we're just going to talk a little bit about multisyllabic words and how learning to read those multisyllabic words builds students' fluency and then aids in comprehension skills as well, especially those students that are in grades 3 through 5. Alright, so advanced phonics is something that helps those little new readers break down and understand more complex words by using sounds, syllable patterns, and we'll talk about the 6 syllable patterns in the English language, prefixes and suffixes. We can't move into advanced phonics until we have learned the basic phonics rules, and then we can get our students into those more advanced phonics skills for multisyllabic words that help build those stronger readers, help build fluency, more accurate spelling, and then ultimately better comprehension. Okay, so effective phonics instruction. I'm just going to go through these really quickly. Builds on concepts about how print functions. Builds on a foundation of phonemic awareness. Our phonemic awareness is manipulating those individual sounds or phonemes that we hear in words. It's clear and direct and involves teacher explanation and modeling. That's that gradual release of responsibility. I do, we do, you do. It's integrated into a total reading program, and it may include word families and use of decoding, may include invented spelling practice. It focuses on the internal structure of words to develop independent word recognition strategies, and then develop that automatic word recognition. And of course, when we have automatic word recognition, our fluency is going to improve as well. So, okay, so let's talk about a couple of definitions of phonemes. Phoneme is the smallest unit of spoken sound, and there are 44 phonemes in the English language. One little phoneme can distinguish between one word and another. It changes the sound of the word. It changes the meaning of the word. And then we have graphemes. Our grapheme is the smallest unit of a written language. So whether it carries meaning or not, we have a grapheme is a letter or a group of letters that represent those individual phonemes, those 44 sounds in the English language. There are about 250 graphemes that represent 44 phonemes, which is why learning to read isn't always easy for a lot of students. All right, understanding multisyllabic words. Understanding those words, we're having to recognize that we are breaking longer words into smaller, more manageable syllables. It helps readers to decode those unfamiliar words. It helps them to pronounce those words. It helps them to be able to encode or spell those words. But like I said, we have to be able to apply our basic phonics knowledge to these multisyllabic words when learning to decode. It requires teaching those syllable types, the division patterns, and morphological awareness. So we're going to take a look at our 6 syllable types that we need to teach when trying to get students to understand how to break apart multisyllabic words. So we have closed syllables. A closed syllable is when you see one single vowel and it's followed by one or more consonants. And that vowel sound is most likely going to be short. Then we have open syllables, which is a syllable that ends in a single vowel. So you can ask students, how many vowels do you see? Do you see a consonant following that vowel? If not, that's going to be an open syllable. Magic E, a syllable that has the vowel consonant E pattern, and a lot of times that E is going to, its job is going to be to make our vowel sound produce the long vowel sound. And then we have R controlled, which when we have a vowel followed directly by an R, and it changes the sound of the vowel. Vowel teams, 2 vowels next to each other. And then our consonant LE syllable, our last one, is where it is at the end of a multisyllabic word. And that consonant LE, that E is there because we have to have a vowel in every single syllable. So that E is representing that vowel in that syllable, even though you do not hear it. All right, so 2 types of letters, vowels, always open, always voiced. So when you put your hand on your throat, it's going to vibrate. Teach your students to do that. Consonants, they are created when your airflow is obstructed in some way when you are producing those sounds. All right, so a closed syllable. We're going to go over these just a little bit. A closed syllable, this is the most common syllable type that you're going to see, and it's dependable 70% of the time. So that means 70% of the time when you see a vowel followed by one or more consonant, it is going to be a short vowel sound. So very predictable when you are teaching this skill. Vowel in an open syllable. They're only seen about 53% of the time, but they are not very predictable. That means it's not going to follow the pattern as often as closed syllables follow the pattern. They're a lot of times they're not going to say the long vowel sound. So they're the least predictive on following the phonics rule that you've taught. Then we have vowel consonant E, is where you have that silent E at the end of a word. So you have a vowel, and then you're going to have your consonant, and then that silent E at the end of the word. Most of the time that E is there to make the vowel sound. Say it's represented long vowel sound. But we do have words in English that cannot end. You can't end them with a V in English language. A J, a U, an I. So sometimes that silent E at the end is there for a different reason. Like in the words love, have, it's because we can't end those words in a V because it's in the English language you don't. So that E is there to help out that consonant at the end. All right, vowel teams. Vowel sounds spelled with more than one letter. So we have digraphs and we have diphthongs. Diphthongs, your mouth position is going to move 2 times. If you produce the ow and oi sound, you have 2 mouth placements when you're producing that sound. So that's the difference between a digraph and a diphthong when you have vowel teams. And then R syllable, formerly known as the bossy R. We try not to call it that anymore because it was a little confusing for kids. They tried to put the R in front of the vowel instead of at the end, but right directly behind the vowel. And that R heavily influences the sound that the vowel is making. It changes that sound. The last one, consonant LE. Like I said, that E is there because we have to have a vowel in each syllable when we are encoding these words. So it comes at the end. It is unaccented. The first syllable or the syllable before this consonant LE is going to be the accented syllable. So these are the most common and frequent ways to divide syllables according to the frequency. So you're going to see vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel. This is the most frequent way that you are going to be dividing your words when you are teaching your students multisyllabic words. When I'm teaching multisyllabic words, this is where I always start. Closed syllable, closed syllable. Multisyllabic words with 2 closed syllables. That's going to be where you start when you're teaching those. And then it goes into less frequency on what you see when you are dividing those words into the syllables. All right, so a couple of things that you might come across when you are teaching multisyllabic words. Many students are scared by lengthy words and refuse to even try them. How many times do you have a student and they come across a longer word and they just shut down on you? They're not going to even attempt to decode that word because it's a multisyllabic word and it scares them immediately. They forget to combine the phonics and context clues when they meet a long word. So everything that you've taught them, even if it's a multisyllabic word with 2 closed syllables, they see that word, they don't apply those phonic skills that they've already learned when they are trying to decode this word. They're looking at the word as a whole instead of dividing it up into the different syllables, decoding one syllable, then the next. And then we see this a lot in my area. Students with reading problems often have limited vocabulary. Maybe they've never even heard the word before. So when they do decode it, it still doesn't make any sense to them because they've not heard that word. It's foreign to them. All right, so how to explain sounding out unknown words. Have the students locate and see the vowels. How many vowels do you see in this word? Then ask them some key questions. Are they together or apart? Which means if they're together, it's a vowel team. So it's going to be still one syllable. Do you see if you've already taught this concept, do you see vowel consonant E or consonant LE? Box in those familiar suffixes, have them circle the prefixes, and then use the knowledge of those syllable types that you've already taught to figure out the sound that that vowel is making. You can scoop underneath each syllable, teaching them, making sure they're blending from left to right. Once they have done all of these steps, then have them push that word together. Read the first syllable, read the second syllable, combine it to read the entire word, and does that word make sense? If it makes sense, if it's a familiar word, then they've got it. So these are just some steps you can take. Something that I used a lot when I was reading interventionist is syllaboards. You can make syllaboards by index cards, running them through the laminator, and let's place our vowels on these syllaboards, and let's place our consonants. Read each syllable at a time and push it together. Okay, so let's just look at a couple of graphic organizers that can help when you're building derivatives around root words. You can give this to the students and say how many new words can you make by adding prefixes or suffixes to the root word. Here's another one where you can add prefixes and suffixes or one or the other. And then the last one, when you're trying to teach meanings of these root words, you can do the root, the meaning, and then the origin of the root word. So that helps in figuring out the meaning of the word as an entirety. All right, and that is all I have for you today. Any questions?
I don't think I saw any questions for you, Chloe.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay, perfect. So one question I did see in chat, not for you, Carla, but just about screening is, are retests allowed on the screener? So yes, you can do retests. We just would ask that you make sure when you're doing a retest. Wait, can everybody see? I'm still just seeing Carla. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me? Yes. Okay. Okay. So just make sure that when you're doing a retest that it is for a valid reason. So for example, if you've had you had a fire drill in the middle of the test and then you had to come back in and then the kids had timed out on a bunch of questions, or maybe you had a kid who was in a hurry to get to PE because the rest of the class left, and so they just clicked through a whole bunch of things, and when you look at their score, you know they were capable of doing more than that. That is up to teacher discretion. We don't have a set standard for that, but you can look in to the guidance document for your particular screener and see if they have any guidance around rescreening, retesting for the screener, but we do allow that. So that would be a district or teacher choice on that if you choose to let a student retake the retest for the screener. It would need to still be in the testing window, but yes, that would be allowed. Another question, let me get back to the chats. I think I saw one more that was about screening. Oh, move-ins. So if someone asks what's the timeline for testing students that move in, we don't have a set criteria on move-ins, but I would think best practice would be that you would usually try to get them in that first week you have them. If not, then at least by the second week, you need to get them screened so that you can see where they are and if you need to be getting them into interventions. Just remembering that if you're delaying testing the new students, that you're also delaying giving any interventions and help support that that student might need. So that specific, we don't have a set guideline for that, but just knowing that the sooner you test them, that you can do that. One thing that we would not want to see on retest is you just allowing multiple retests for the same student, or just we don't want to just keep let's let them take it until they get higher. Obviously that would not be best practice and really makes the test become ineffective for the student if they're taking it more than one time. Let me look at another one. Okay. If you have any other questions that we didn't address and you want to email them to me, you can always email me. My direct email is deanne.jones@sde.ok.gov, or you can also message our literacy inbox, which is literacy@sde.ok.gov. Just remember that unless something changes with the agency, we will not be sending out monthly newsletters anymore. And so you will not be getting those emails to remind you of this call and the link unless something changes within our agency. So that link that's on our Strong Readers website already is the valid link that we will use for the whole rest of this school year, and our dates are already posted there. So thank you all for your time and for sticking with us through this call. And if you have any questions, make sure that you can email them to me. And as always, thank you, and I appreciate all that you do for young students across our state every day. Goodbye.